Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Ben Morales, your personal financial coach. So happy to be with you once again today. And I want to talk to you about something today that sometimes we do things in our finances that are just, they don't make a lot of sense, right? Some people might say, hey, that's absolutely delusional what it is that you're doing. So a lot of times it's just because of the way that we were taught since we were kids, our backgrounds, how our parents taught us. Well, in this particular scenario that I'm going to show today, I have a client that's very, very close to retirement. And one of the dilemmas that he has is he's about 5 years away from retirement and he still owes $165,000 on his mortgage. Now, thankfully, that is not a huge obstacle to overcome. Some of the strategies that we can put in place for them will help him actually get rid of that in a very short amount of time. We're going to see exactly how long it will take for him to do that. But I wanted to address sometimes when you're trying to do something like this client is doing, if the goal is to pay debt off, then my question, and the question that I have for him, and it's the question I have for you if you find yourself in the same place, then what good is having multiple months of money saved in a savings account where it's actually losing purchasing power due to inflation and some other things as well. And that's particularly the scenario today. Let's take a look at it and see exactly what's happening in the background. So this is the client profile like we always talk about on the channel. We can see that his income is high enough, or he's got a very good, decent income. And then he's our expenses now. When it comes to the debt that he has, thankfully, the 165,000 is in a mortgage, and that's the only debt that he's had. The challenge is again, he just got this mortgage in this month. 4 years ago was when he got the mortgage, so he still has quite a few years left. Even if it was a 15-year loan, he still would have 11 years left to pay this mortgage off. So how could we speed that up so that when he gets into retirement years, whether it's going to be 65 or 67, he doesn't have this mortgage still eating up at his cash flow? And that's what we're going to solve for today. So where is he at today? Right now, this client has $42,000 saved in a savings account. Now I know the suggested thing is to have 3 to 6 months saved in your savings account. Actually, in his case, he has a lot more than what he would need right now, especially since he has funds saved other places as well and some investments. But in this particular case, again, the goal is to get this mortgage paid off in less time than what is going to take him now, hopefully before the time that he retires. So what I did is I created a scenario. In the best case scenario, if you were to put this $42,000 and put him in a high yield savings account at a 4.10 rate, that's a decent enough rate in terms of income or interest that he's going to be earning. The challenges with that is how much is he really earning when he's making over $110,000 a year in salary? What happens to all the interest that he earns, or a good portion of that interest that he earns in his savings account? Well, that simply becomes taxable income. And let's look at what that's going to look like. So the HISA, what we call it, high yield savings account, um, 42,000 over the span of 1 year will grow by $1,722, which will bring the total to 43,722. So again, because he's gotten in a habit and so used to saving money, even in the best case scenario, there's still something better that he can do in the long term to save him even more money than what he actually thinks is saving by leaving the money where it's at. So what I did is let's look at a projection over the next 5 years. What would this look like in 5 years? Well, in 5 years, that 42,000 would actually compound. And at the end of the 5 years, it would compound by $9,312, which would give him a total of $51,312 over the 5 year span. So he's actually gained $9,312. Or has he? Well, all of that money, again, because it's in a savings account, it's going to be taxable. So these are the per year gains on that $42,000. And we can see that, yes, it did gain $9,312, but it came at a cost, right? These are the per year cost of interest. It came at a cost of $2,240. Why? Because it's in the wrong place. Not only is he being taxed on it, but it's also being consumed by inflations and things that are going on in the market as well, which really only leaves him a net gain of 7,071, right? What if he put that 42,000 or part of that 42,000 to work for him, right? What if he went at attacking that particular mortgage? what would that look like? So we don't want to put him in a position where we're going to liquidate all his savings. But let's say we retain 10,000 of the savings and we're going to put the other 32 to work for him. So that's exactly what we did here. So just with a simple one move, right? We take the savings and we're going to chunk one big payment in the amount of $32,000 into his mortgage, right? That's just step one. What's that going to do? Immediately, that's going to knock off 2.5 years from his mortgage, right? In order for him to reach this particular balance, he would have continued to make payments in the amount of 2025 for the next 2.5 years just to get to that 133 level. So this is going to actually expedite, speed up, right? We're using velocity banking. It's speeding up the process of him paying off his mortgage. The next thing we would do is we would implement a debt tool in the form of a HELOC. So if you utilize the savings chunk payment just to get him started, right? We're going to retain 10,000 on this side to protect them from any other emergencies that might happen. But once he's got his debt tool as a HELOC, that can actually serve as a savings as well. So potentially he'll have another option. He can continue, then from there take the rest of the 10,000 that he had at that moment and apply it to the particular 133 that he still owes as a balance. Or he could just continue to leave that in the bank and then utilize the velocity banking strategy. Now, typically right now, HELOCs will run you at around 77%, right? But one thing that he'll be able to use or do rather by moving his funds into a HELOC or his mortgage rather is now he's going to get access to that cash flow that was actually going to the mortgage, that $2,025 on a monthly basis. So if he started off, right, the process and he was already at $1,481, and now we're taking that $1,481 and we're adding back that cash flow that he was making to the mortgage payment. Now his cash flow at the end of the month is going to be $3,506. So a real simple way to more or less figure out how soon we could pay the balance of that 133,000. Well, we just take 133. You've seen me do this before in other videos. We divide that by the new cash flow. When we do that, we're going to get a number. That number is 37. That's actually 37 months that it would take him to pay off this loan. So if we look at it in years, it's going to be just over 3 years. Just a little over 3 years, maybe about 3 years and 3 months. And that's the reality of actually using a HELOC, repositioning those funds that he had in the mortgage over into the HELOC, even though it has a higher rate. Now, what do we achieve by doing all that movement? Well, he's completely out of mortgage debt before he turns 65 years old. He can continue. He's actually be 63, maybe closer to 64. He just turned 60 years old. But what happens is now he can take those last 3 years if he continues to work, if he desires to continue to work until the age of 67 years old. All that income that was going to mortgage payments, he can retain it, right? So now he's going to have 24 times 3, about another $77,000 saved this time for him that he could put to use into retirement when he actually gets to that point. So this is a better actual route for him. And I wanted to just share this with you because, again, sometimes we make decisions because it was a way of thinking that we had, but we don't really look at the overall cost for this. So would you rather have $7,071 over the span of 5 years? Or would you really rather have a completely eliminated mortgage in less than 3 years, which will then save him an enormous amount of interest rate by using this velocity banking strategy to get to where he wants to get at a lot quicker rate? So hope this video helps you. Put any comments, shares, and likes below. Let me know what you thought about this scenario and what other kind of content you would like to see. I'll be more than happy to research that and put it in the video as well. Thanks for the time for tuning in today, and until the next video, see you soon and God bless.